Hey, it's Lindsay.
Hey, it's Tanya.
Today we're going to be analyzing three episodes of the Insecure series by Issa Rae.
Hashtag my president. So Insecure, it focuses on the daily and personal lives of professional black women in Los Angeles. The show, it really it looks at the relationships of these women and it tries to portray the different types of relationships that exist between them in the show. So there's issues of race, there's gender and sexuality that's displayed within these characters' lives, and the characters in question are specifically Molly and Issa.
So Molly is a corporate lawyer at a predominantly white law firm, and professionally she's got most of it under control during these episodes. But when it comes to her love life, it seems as if she falls short of her fairy tale. Issa works for a nonprofit called We Got Y'all that works to provide better opportunities for inner city kids of color. During these episodes, Issa's relationship with her 5-year-long boyfriend Lawrence is on the rocks, and and these episodes shows the ups and downs of the relationship. And Issa's personal life affects her professional life, as we see in the upcoming episodes.
So in episode two, which was the first episode that was shown at the Cinematique, it's called Shady as. So Issa, she's really shady towards both Lawrence and Molly, and she's a common denominator in the shading. It's like how they approach the relationships. And Issa, she has a tendency to rap a lot in order to like empower herself or give herself courage. And there's a time when her rapping affects her friendship with Molly. So in the episode before that, because we ended up watching episode one, we had to watch it. So Issa, she raps about Molly's metaphoric vaginal issues, and Molly's affected by the broken punani rap. Issa said, so she decides to treat yourself to a day of pampering, which includes a vaginal enhancement. So Molly and Issa, they're at lunch together, and then uh, that's where Molly mentions like how the boys on Tinder are really like childish and they have no class. And Molly, she's looking to upgrade her dating experience, so she's on a waiting list for 3 months for the league. And later on, Molly, she goes out with like her Tinder date, and she turns out like the guy turns out to be like all the other guys that broke her punani or whatever. So Issa and Lawrence. So then, like, fast forward a little bit, Issa and Lawrence, they end up having an argument in Rite Aid and about like why she's been avoiding him. So so after that whole argument, Issa goes to Molly's place again, like used to say again for the night, and she then tells Molly that she kissed Daniel. She kissed Daniel while in a relationship with Lawrence. Let's not forget. And the next day at work, Frida, which is Issa's coworker, she discusses ways to get the kids more interested in hobbies, like besides like stereotypically gravitating towards like sports. So Frida suggested a community cleanup, which ends up offending Issa, but Frida did not realize that would occur. So a little while later, Issa wings the presentation, stating that the kids should be exposed to the arts, and her coworkers they grill her for presenting an idea without any like supplemental facts and figures or just it was like she really ballparked that like with everything, and it was later decided like that they would have a beach cleanup. So fast forward some more. The scene shifts to Molly at work, and she's very bitter about her assistant being engaged, as well as her white superiors congratulating the assistant. So yeah, that's just something that Molly is just really bitter about. And then fast forward some more, Lawrence he's seen talking to one of his neighbors who's a blood, so no C's allowed, and like he talks to him about his relationship issues, and then I guess that helps him a little bit just figure out how him and Issa actually should make it work. And then yeah, eventually Issa and Lawrence they make up and they're on pretty good terms again. So
Well, in this episode, Issa raps a total of three times. So the first time she raps about her future plans, her relationship goals, and her perspective in life. And then the second time she raps in like a car mirror to give herself courage to go and talk to Lawrence. And the third time she raps um, like it's a conversation towards herself in a mirror, and the mirror Issa is Lawrence, and Issa is talking to Lawrence about how their conversation might go, and at the end she says I love you to each other, and that sort of ends the conversation as it finally puts everything into perspective for her as how she should approach the conversation. So she pretends that her mirror self is Lawrence and she's having a conversation with him about the relationship. She assumes the responses that Lawrence might give her in the different scenarios that she has considered. But in the end, when they say "I love you" to each other, Issa Rapp seizes as she realizes that he needs to stop ignoring Lawrence and have a proper conversation with him. The wrapping does not help Issa as she goes to buy extra underwear in order to stay at Molly's rather than deal with her MFing relationship. At work, Issa ignores her coworker Frida's ideas by calling them crippling. She calls them crippling as she thinks that having black kids focus on basketball is stereotypical and relying only on sports reduces their opportunities compared to other white kids. She's also opposed to the idea of black kids cleaning up communities of white kids as she believes it reinforces privilege and supremacy all over again. When she messes up the presentation, her boss calls her out on that by saying that she is disappointed in her and that a leader who does not take advice is not a leader. Her boss could be referencing to Issa's dismissive attitude towards Frida's suggestions. Meanwhile, when even though Molly is a successful attorney, she feels insecure when her assistant Diane gets engaged, while she can't even hold a long-term boyfriend. Even though like Molly later on complains to Issa by telling that she wants to be Diane but be better than her, and when Molly goes on a Tinder date later that day, um, it starts out really good, but then he turns out to be like every other person who broke her pee.
Punani.
Yeah, that's it. So at the end of the day, she's really disappointed. So she takes her dog out for a walk, and she's without her armor of makeup and like the entire outfit and everything. She's just eating a burger, and that's when Jared sees her, and they have this nice fun conversation where he makes her laugh. And I think this portrays like how Jared likes Molly best when she's trying to be someone else but herself.
I like the armor thing. That was
Yeah.
cool.
So in the next episode, which is episode 7 of season 1, called Real SF, it starts out with Molly and Issa dress shopping for Issa's fundraising event. This is where Issa tells Molly that she's going to change her give no F's attitude to give all the F's attitude. When Issa tries to inquire about Molly's emotional state, Molly dodges the question. Meanwhile, Lawrence has an interview at Meridian and gets the job. This makes Issa very happy. However, Lawrence is not sure he wants to take the job as he feels that he's more advanced than the company itself. Issa is not happy with this, and she tells him, "Do you really want to go back to how things are?" And in the end, she convinces Lauren to take the job, and she says, "I believe in you," in order to soften the blow. Issa's fundraiser takes place in a nice neighborhood in the house of the house of a well-to-do dentist, a black dentist. When one of Issa's white coworkers comes to the neighborhood and calls it the Black Beverly Hills, Issa has an internal rap conversation with him and then responds to him in a normal manner. Molly tells Issa about her friend Krissa, who feels that getting therapy makes her feel more centered, and while Molly dismisses this idea, Issa suggests that therapy might be good for Molly, and this offends Molly. Issa then proceeds to tell the kids about the black neighborhood, and the kids are amazed to learn that the house belongs to a black man. One of the kids who lives a few blocks away and doesn't even know that the house like this existed in the black neighborhood. When Daniel shows up in the event, Issa panics and she sort of deploys Molly to take care of it. When Molly asks Daniel to keep the fundraiser about the kids, he ignores her and walks away. When Issa confronts Daniel in private and says that the sex wasn't serious and that he was just an itch he needed to scratch, Lawrence watches this entire exchange through the window. And later, when Lawrence confronts Daniel in the parking lot, um, he asks Daniel, "What connection do you have to the charity?" And Daniel says he doesn't have one anymore. When Lawrence confronts Issa and finds out that she cheated on him with Daniel, he's furious and leaves the apartment while Issa is crying on the doorstep.
So,
That was a
it's a
lot.
little, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's a little interpretation. So when Issa said that she's gonna change from give no F's to give all the F's, I knew she wasn't gonna do that. But after seeing um, after seeing this episode, wait, yeah, after seeing this episode and then like connecting the dots between other stuff, but honestly, we watched it. We watched basically the whole season now. Um, there was something that was definitely up. So it turns out that Daniel he did a little pop up at the charity event, and that kind of ruins Issa's whole like composure. So honestly, I think that him going to the event was a little messy, but he didn't have to volunteer his time there in the first place, like with the whole career day thing. So it could be either like interpreted that he was being a good friend or not. So on the other hand, Issa, besides Daniel, Issa and Molly, they're having some friendship issues. And Molly, she's really passive aggressive throughout like the whole charity event scene. Her disapproval of Issa thinking that therapy would be good for her. Um, and it's like connecting to some of the journals that we've read and articles. Molly, like, she's really like a strong black woman, and she's like who's dissatisfied with her romantic life. It seems as if she has it all, like, but she has high standards when it comes to like men and everything. So he's suggesting therapy for Molly. It was really innocent. It wasn't really malicious. She just wants what's best for Molly and for Molly to stop like sabotaging her own self. Um, so also while still at the charity event that Issa created, three of the four Black Americas were present. So like the article by Robinson, Black America doesn't live here anymore. They were all in the same house, so it was interesting to think about how the abandoned kids they only lived a couple blocks away, and they lived a couple blocks away from the Black Transcendence, and they had no idea that even a place like that existed, and that it belonged to people of color. So while Robinson, he argues that there are four distinct and separate Blacks in America, this episode really fosters and shows that there needs to be interaction amongst all, especially amongst the two, in order to spark interest and motivate the abandoned potentially to seek and achieve their life goals so they can too buy extra batteries, as the little boy said. So, moving on to the last episode, episode 8, Broke as F. Issa and Lawrence, they've been apart for 3 days. Um, she's seen wearing one of his shirts from like the previous episode, so that kind of shows that she really missed him or whatever. Issa, she keeps sending him voicemails and she's too sad to rap, which she raps to like empower herself. um Issa decides to go to Lauren's work. She popped up and like try and fix things between them, but he tells her to go away, like he just to stop calling him, like he don't want to see her. um Later in that episode, Molly and Issa, they're still not on good terms, and Molly, she acts really distant and like aloof towards Issa. Um, so Issa and Molly, along with their friends Tiffany and Kelly, they go on a trip to Malibu for Kelly's birthday, and Issa continuously checks her phone, like because she was just really thinking about Lawrence the whole time. Instead, he's with Tasha. He's with Tasha. So the girls, while he's with Tasha, the girls they settle in at the house in Malibu, and then they go to the club for Kelly's birthday. So Issa she continues to judge Molly for. So it's interesting. Issa judges Molly for becoming Issa with the whole "I don't give a whatever" attitude. It's just interesting to think about that. Anyway, Molly she takes home a young man from the club, and the next morning Kelly and Issa talk at breakfast. Kelly knows something is up with Issa, suggesting that maybe Lawrence either got her pregnant or hit her. So Issa, she never goes into any details about like why she's sad. And um, so later that night, the girls they're all in the pool, the heated pool. Tiffany and Kelly end up teasing Molly for having high standards and sabotaging herself out of relationships. So Issa she defends by shading the other two girls, and Tiffany exposes Issa's infidelity, thus being the reason why her and Lawrence broke up. Lawrence is at the club with his fellows. I wrote that. Okay, they talk. They talk down on like single 30 plus women about how they're desperate, and Lawrence calls Issa at the club, and he has a little aha moment about almost sleeping with a stripper for money. He misses Issa clearly. He suggests that they talk when they get back on the trip, so Molly ends up driving Issa there back, and then they make up and everything. That's cool. So um, Lawrence he ends up going to Tasha's house after he packs all his clothes, so he's not even there when Issa gets back. And then yeah, Issa ends up crying and she's sad. Blah blah blah.
So basically, when these two girls, Princess Molly and Kelly, go out for wine tasting, um, Molly and Tiffany talk about how these girls, which is Issa and Kelly, are so basic, and Molly complains about how Issa keeps telling people about how to live their lives. Tiffany also jokes that this is how ratchet people are, and this is similar to the reading Black America Doesn't Live Here Anymore, because as Tiffany and Molly, who are transcendent, make assumptions about Issa and Kelly, who are the mainstream. And she just puts them in the ratchet category as they are accustomed to the lifestyles of Molly and Tiffany. This idea is reinforced when Issa first looks at Kelly's vacation house and asks the house caretaker, "What's a casita?" To which Tiffany replies, "She doesn't have nice things." So Molly wants to prove to Issa that she doesn't give any Fs anymore, but this backfires as Kelly and Tiffany tease her that when she's in the hot tub. So when Issa comes home early to talk to Lawrence, she only finds his Best Buy shirt in the closet, which I think signifies the end of the relationship, as Lawrence is not the same unemployed guy who worked at Best Buy but is rather a changed man who's employed and not dependent on Issa anymore.
So after watching the 3 episodes, there was an open discussion amongst the audience, and it was like a vast demographic of people, different age, status, racial appearance, and there were members in the audience that related the episodes back to real world situations, questioning how likely the situations are to occur. So some of the members in the audience they challenged each other, thus reframing their stances and opinions on race. So it was a really cool discussion.
I thought the show actually did an amazing job on integrating multiple issues and making them relatable to the people. The show did an amazing job on making its content humorous and thought provoking at the same time. One of the readings the show reminded me of was The Woman of Color and the White Man, as even though Molly doesn't go after a white male specifically, she prefers a black man with the status of a white male. This reading is also applied in reverse when Diane, Molly's assistant, who is a white female, gets engaged to a black male. Molly also seeks white approval at her firm, which can be inferred from how she's constantly code switching in order to fit in with them.
Overall, the show was really entertaining. I liked how Issa, as a writer, she was able to incorporate multiple aspects of everyday life as well as like social justice issues, while it still kept me interested. From these 3 episodes, like specifically that we watched, they just overall it really reminded me of like the reading by Robinson, Black America Doesn't Live Here Anymore, because of the intersect between Issa, who's mainstream, and then the children who that she works with who they're abandoned. There's also Molly, transcendent because of how educated she is, her career, and high profile status, especially because of the league.
So
So,
that is our analysis of the 3 episodes.
yes, that is all. And I hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe.